Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mitch Matlow, M-A-T-L-O-W. I am a public information officer with the South Bay Incident Management Team, currently working on the garlic incident. Today we're here to talk with officials in the city of Gilroy regarding this event. First to speak will be Mayor Roland Velasco of the city of Gilroy.
Thank you all for being here this morning. One of my greatest honors in life was being elected mayor of this great community. And I could tell you that the people of Gilroy are strong, we're resilient, and during the course of this investigation, as law enforcement continues to research and investigate it, the Gilroy community will mourn, but we will get through it. On behalf of the community and the Gilroy City Council, I'm speaking to you today to provide a brief update on where we're at. Later on the agenda, you'll get additional information from our public safety personnel. As you know, yesterday afternoon, the city of Gilroy endured a tragedy that a very long night cannot erase. Mass gun violence is an epidemic in the United States, and yet one never imagined such a thing can happen here in our beautiful community. It's beyond sad to see a wonderful and charitable event like the Gilroy Garlic Festival that donates tens of thousands of dollars each year to local nonprofits, to have an event like this happen. As I said before, we are resilient and we will get through this. This morning, our prayers are with the families of those injured and killed in this senseless shooting. We stand with you, and we will be providing whatever assistance we can in the days and weeks ahead. This morning, as we learn more about what occurred yesterday, I wish to commend the bravery of our law enforcement personnel who, in the middle of a chaotic situation, acted quickly and professionally to engage the shooter and to end the threat before more people could be injured or killed. And the chief will talk a little bit more about that. It takes remarkable bravery to run to a shooting when the natural reaction for all of us is to run away. We are so proud of our law enforcement who undoubtedly saved many lives by putting their own lives in danger. Now, I also want to mention our fantastic fire department. I happened to be in the triage area when the victims started to come in, and I could tell you that our fire personnel, paramedics, EMTs were there quickly triaging, prioritizing, stabilizing each of the patients, and then getting them ready to transport out. Today and over the next few days, I, along with the Gilroy City Council, will be meeting and working with community leaders to assess the situation we now face in Gilroy in the wake of this shooting. We intend to come out of this horrible event in a stronger and obviously a closer community. Again, thank you for being here. Let me turn it back over.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next to speak will be Fire Chief Jeff Klett.
Good morning, everybody. As the mayor said, first of all, I'd like to thank our firefighters for responding heroically to this event. This is something that we trained for. In fact, had an active shooter training with our colleagues in the police department about a year ago, and we're actually planning another one because of another unfortunate event just north of us in Morgan Hill, also involving an active shooter. Luckily that we were at an event, so we had 6 total fire department personnel on scene when this shooting occurred, 2 on an engine in the park, 2 on bike teams, and 2 that were in an ambulance inside the park. So we were able to respond quickly to the situation when the shooting occurred. We had 12 EMS, public and private personnel also on scene, an EMT contract, and a public ambulance company there as well. The initial dispatch occurred at 17:42 hours. We sent 4 engines, and for note, we only have 3 engines in the city of Gilroy, so we sent all of our resources as well as our South County neighbors. 2 additional battalion chiefs, and then requested 16 local mutual aid engines to respond down here as well. Our Gilroy battalion chief assumed command at 17:45 hours, along with the first arriving fire engine that was dispatched from outside of the Garlic Festival event. We had a total of 6 ground ambulances and 2 supervisors from the county. We had 3 air ambulances, and we did a total of 16, there were 16 total transports, 13 of which were done by the fire department and the EMS agency. 3 of those, again, were air ambulances, and 8 ground ambulances. And I will leave it to the police department to talk about the actual state of the deceased in this event. Thank you.
Next to speak to you, Police Chief Scott Smithy.
So I'll reiterate what I said at the press conference last night, and I've got a few additional details. And then we'll also be planning an additional update because I plan on having more information now that daylight's here and we're getting fresh resources in. So we'll try to put something together for you for later this afternoon. We've got the date and time established already, and as most of you know, the Gilroy Garlic Festival is an event that we put on every year. And we typically host between 80 and 100,000 people to our festival. It takes several thousand people a day volunteering to make this festival work. And so at the time that the incident occurred, you know, it was near the end of the final day. It was last night, Sunday. Questions that were asked, you know, regarding the security and the way that we manage and monitor it from a law enforcement and public safety perspective, is that we have police personnel on site the entire time of the festival. We actually create a police compound where we have a command center, a booking area, you know, all the things that you would need to run a major operation like this. The officers are deployed throughout the park, and they're assigned to different regions of the park, so they're spread out. We don't have officers all in one spot. When this call came in, the shots being fired, the closest team of officers responded immediately. They were there and engaging the suspect in less than a minute. The suspect was armed with an assault-type rifle, and he, as soon as he saw the officers, he engaged the officers and fired at the officers with that rifle. And I had 3 officers that engaged the suspect. And despite the fact that they were outgunned with their handguns against a rifle, those 3 officers were able to fatally wound that suspect, and the event ended very quickly. Of course, then we had the aftermath of dealing with the victims and in the EMS side of things. We put out a call for help. We had over 20 agencies, federal, state, county, and local agencies from all over that responded people down into our park. And it was just incredible to see the cooperation and how quickly they put this together and how quickly they were able to render aid to people. I can't tell you how proud I am of the officers for being able to engage this guy as quickly as they did, because we had thousands of people there in a very small area, and you know, it could have gone so much worse so fast. And so I'm really proud that they got there as quickly as they did, and that they were successful in taking the threat out of the equation. We do have 3 people deceased, confirmed deceased. We have one who was a 6-year-old male victim. We also had a 13-year-old female victim, and then we had another male victim in his 20s. We don't have a motive for the shooting as yet. We did have reports of a potential second suspect. We don't have any confirmation that any second suspect did any shooting, but we certainly are investigating all leads to try to determine who that potential second suspect is and what exactly that person's role was. We found out, you know, some of the federal agencies helping us out. We found out that the rifle that this suspect used was an SKS. It was a AK-47 type assault rifle. It was purchased legally in the state of Nevada on July the 9th of this year. And reports have been going out of potential suspect. And I will confirm that the suspect is the person that several news media have been inquiring about, Santino William Logan, who is 19 years old. And I say that name with some hesitation because I don't believe that somebody like this deserves the notoriety or the recognition, but I also understand that you all, you know, want to have some confirmation of that. I think the last thing I'll say before I turn it over, I want to thank all of the agencies and all of the people that came to help. I don't even know how many people, but there was a lot. And when we put out the call for help, they came. Because it's such a large crime scene, the FBI has come in and offered some assistance, and we've accepted that assistance because of the size of the area that we need to cover. And so before we open it up for questions, I'm going to have them come up and talk a little bit about their role and how they're helping us with this case, and then I'll come back up.
Next to speak with you Deputy Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Craig Fair.
Thank you. My name is Craig Fair. I'm the Deputy Special Agent in charge of the San Francisco Division of the FBI. First off, I'd like to express my condolences to the city of Gilroy and to the family, friends, and victims of this absolutely heinous act. The FBI's principal role is assisting the city and the police department of Gilroy in the investigation. Our preeminent and principal concern at this point is motivation, ideological leanings. Was he affiliated with anyone or any group? That still has to be ruled out and still has to be determined at this point. And we are supporting Gilroy Police Department in making those determinations. Our evidence recovery team, it's a sizable team. We have about 30 individuals out there right now collecting evidence. As we find evidence, as we flag it, as we mark it and map it, we're determining that the crime scene is much more expansive than what we originally thought, and it amounts to many, many, many acres. We appreciate the public's patience as we process this. It's done very slowly, it's done very methodically, and it's done for a reason should we have to use that evidence in prosecution later on. I'd also like to thank the first responders. As the mayor cited in their heroism, the FBI personnel who worked tirelessly throughout the evening and will do so for the next several days. Our partnership with the Gilroy Police Department and the city of Gilroy as we move through this crisis, and members of the general public who are offering, continue to send in tips, photos, and assist with the investigation. Thank you.
We will now take a few questions. I ask that you direct your questions to me, and we will put them to the correct person. I saw that hand go up first.
Thank you. Probably for the chief, but you talked about the potential of another suspect. Do you believe there's somebody else out there, or is there the potential that those were erroneous reports and that they thought they saw somebody who might not be there?
You know, we really don't know. We've gotten multiple reports that there may have been another person with him, that they ran this way or they ran that way, but different people give different versions, so we really don't know at this point.
I saw this hand go up next.
Will you be able to identify the victims at this point?
We are not identifying the victims at this point. Typically, that's something that we leave up to the county coroner's office to make sure that all their notifications are done before that's released.
The gentleman in Jack.
Actually, two questions for you. Had your officers not acted quicker, would there have been more bloodshed? And were those officers wearing body cameras?
So the answer to the first question is there absolutely would have been more bloodshed, I believe. With the number of people in the small area that they were in, I think it's very, very fortunate that they were able to engage him as quickly as they did. And then the second part of the question is our officers do wear body cameras. Who was at the moment that this happened and who's had them on or what, I don't have that information yet, but we will get that as we move forward in the investigation.
Gentleman with the mustache.
Chief, could you give us a rough idea, sort of a laundry list of the type of evidence you were trying to gather? Because I know you want to try to find out what the motivation was. What type of things are you and other law enforcement agencies trying to gather to help try to figure out what triggered all this?
Well, there's a number of different aspects of an investigation like this, and we have partners from all different agencies. So, whether it's information concerning the suspect, whether it's information concerning this potential second person, there's a very, very large crime scene that needs to be processed diligently. There's all kinds of background information that we need to process. It's going to be a very prolonged and complicated process for us.
Can you give us, though, as a follow-up, can you give us some idea of things you're looking at? I'm guessing maybe computers, the types of people you're talking to try to learn more about him?
Yeah, I am not comfortable at this point because I don't have enough of a detail of that level of briefing to comment on that. I may be able to do that later today.
The gentleman with blue shirt under the TV set.
It's too early, but at this point, have you spotted any red flags in the social media, and is there any indication that, what is involved?
I am not ready to comment on that yet. I don't have that level of detail either.
Are you familiar with him? We were told he was from Gilroy. Did he have a record, anything along those lines? And also, is he the one who purchased the gun legally from the background?
As far as his local background, again, I'm not ready to comment on that. My understanding that he is the one that purchased the weapon in Nevada.
We had seen that he had moved to Nevada. Can you confirm if he was living in Nevada? Do you know what brought him there? And then how long had he been back in California before this incident happened?
I don't have that information yet. I think he was living with family members, but he's originally from Gilroy. I don't yet know how long he was in Nevada or how long he'd been back.
One last question.
Many people have to rush away, obviously, from the fairgrounds. What are you telling people who are maybe wanting to return? And then the second question is, since this is an ongoing investigation, how secure is the fairgrounds and the surroundings?
Chief, would you like to address that?
Yeah, well, I would say that it's very secure. We have quite a large number of personnel out establishing a perimeter around the area because we have to do the evidence processing. There are people that were at the festival that literally ran away and left their belongings, and we have vehicles and there's vendor tents and whatnot. We can't allow them back in until we finish with the evidence processing portion of this. So we have a team that's set up to help assist those people to provide some support until we can get them back to their belongings.
Chief, can you talk about the victims? They were so young. You have 20 people under the age of 22 children. We talk a lot about the suspect here, but when you speak to all these young lives being lost and maybe even having to deal with that.
Well, I think any time a life is lost, it's a tragedy. But when it's young people, it's even worse. And it's very difficult. I don't know that I don't know what, if any, association there is. It seems that this was a random act, but again, we've got a long way to go before we can come to a determination what his motivation was.
That's all the questions we're going to take for now. I did make a commitment to the Spanish-speaking stations that I would give an interview outside in Spanish. So if you folks would like to set up outside, I will take care of that. Any other questions we will take later. There will be future conferences that we put together.
Confirm the total number of injured.
The total number, as we understand it, was 16. 1 people deceased and 12 injured. One of those deceased was the shooter.
Jimmy, too. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, I can't hear your question. I don't have that information. I have not heard anything.
Certainly the address.
I bet it's 15 plus.